Welcome to another episode of Jay Leno's Book Club. Remember, no self-help, no weight loss, just stuff that rolls, explodes, and makes noise. We're here talking about the book, Route 66, The People, the Places, the Dream, Sal Santoro and Bob Walton. These are the two authors right here. They look like a couple of car guys. They got the whole car outfit, the belt, the shirt, the whole deal. These guys went cross-country, Route 66, in Bob's 68 Cadillac convertible. So tell me how this all came about. What was the idea behind the book?
Well, we both worked well over 35 years in our individual careers, had been friends for about 20 years during that time, and both had on our bucket lists Route 66.
Right.
And once we both had been retired, we took some time to plan a trip, and naturally we wanted to do it in a classic car because we're both Cadillac collectors. We have some classic Cadillacs, and that's how we met, and that's how we've become and stayed best of friends. And so this became a trip of a lifetime for us. Once we planned it, we left the real world behind. We got in that 68 Cadillac, and we had a heck of a time.
Now, for younger people watching, for those of us of a certain generation, there's a TV show called Route 66. It starred, was it Marty Milner and who else? Who was the other guy?
George Maharis.
George Maharis, yeah. And these guys went across country on Route 66 and had adventures along the way. But the key to the show was they drove a 62 Corvette.
Right.
I think the Corvette changed in different years. We used to watch it as kids just to see the Corvette every week. Their story was, who cared, really? But you just watched the cool cars. So consequently, Route 66, to those of us of a certain generation, you have this thing in your mind. You want to have the adventures that those guys had. What was the first sort of Route 66 thing you saw when you left Chicago?
They have historic signs to guide you around.
Right.
And there was one right in Chicago, about a quarter of a mile into our trip, and happened to be right under the L. So we stopped and pulled over and recruited somebody to take a picture of us at the beginning of the trip.
Eisenhower started the Interstate highway system in the early 50s.
Right.
And that was the beginning of the end for Route 66 as it was previously, because it was really the only way to get from Chicago to LA using one roadway, and it connected the railroad stations originally. That's how it began, and that's why it had such a jagged path. It wasn't a straight shot like the interstates.
And when you go through the book, you'll see all the images. You know, they would try to attract tourists, so they would have giant donuts and wigwams and teepees and just anything to get people to stop, see the world's biggest ball of string, just incredible, ridiculous things. And that's what this book is filled with. Well, there's the 66 drive-in theater. Right on the cover here, you have gasoline, 15 cents a gallon, which is almost, and I'm sure my dad would have hit the roof then. He was 15, playing 13.
Outrageous.
It was ridiculous. Do you remember Nash built a car that had the seat that turned into a bed? And he did that because he was on Route 66 and he stopped for the night. And they wanted $2 for a motel room. And he thought that was outrageous. So he said, let's design a car that a salesman could sleep in. And of course, it became the drive-in movie car. No dad would let their daughter go out with a guy that had a Nash with the big seat that turned into a bed. The Santa Monica Pier, that is the end of Route 66.
That's correct.
That was a momentous occasion for us.
Yeah.
I don't think Lewis and Clark were any happier to see the Pacific Ocean than we were. It was the crowning achievement of all the planning, all the getting preparation, getting the car ready.
Okay, here's typical of the stuff you see in Route 6. Giant chair. Yeah, I mean, it's a piece of Americana that no longer exists. And this was typical of the sort of gas stations and dwellings you'd see along Route 66.
We met so many folks from all over the world traveling Route 66, many of them in motorcycles. They come over, rent motorcycles as a group, and travel the iconic old road.
When I was on Route 66, I stopped at this place, the Big Texan?
Big Texan.
Where they give you a 72-ounce steak with Texas toast and bacon. If you can eat the whole thing, it's free.
In an hour.
Oh, in an hour. You have
In an hour.
You have to eat it in an hour. Okay. How did you guys do? I'm curious.
We didn't attempt this.
No,
thing.
We got there at 9 in
9:30
the morning, but
Okay.
we did meet the owner, and it's funny that the story with that is that he recognized the car, having seen us, for some reason he was in Oklahoma City a couple days before, recognized us and came and gave us a personal tour. It was wonderful.
Now these look like a couple of old Route 66.
That's Harley and Annabelle in Eric, Oklahoma.
Yeah, they look like hippies that stopped there in '72 and just stayed.
Never left.
It just never left. I mean, it's great. Great photographs. So where were the wives? You just left them at home.
New Jersey.
We left them at home, and
Okay.
thank goodness our wives appreciated all the years that we worked and kind of considered this trip a retirement gift to ourselves.
Yeah, well, there
Kissed
you
the
go.
wives goodbye and said, we see you in a month or so.
Now, what's the giant whale? I hadn't seen that before. What is that?
That's in Catoosa, Oklahoma, and that was the brainchild of a man whose wife collected little miniature whales.
Right.
And that was a surprise gift for their anniversary. It's made out of concrete and rebar. It's enormous.
Really, what woman wouldn't love a giant whale? So you got to tell me, how did the '68 Cadillac hold up? Did it run okay?
Mechanically, not a problem. We had some electrical issues.
Right,
And
okay.
that was my biggest concern
Yeah.
because you have 41-year-old wires lurking under the dashboard.
Now
and
tell
so
me,
forth.
did you just say to yourself, okay, let's take my '68 Cadillac and go? Or did you go through the car before you left on the trip?
Well, this was not the first long trip I took with that car.
Right.
Every year I try to go to the Cadillac LaSalle Club Grand National.
Right.
And prior to that trip, the car had been to Detroit. It had been to Des Moines, Iowa.
Well, how many miles on it?
I've put over 30,000 on it since
Okay.
I've had it, mostly going to shows like
And
that.
you said your first Cadillac was what, a '59?
59 Series 62 Coupe.
Yeah.
And the big decision before we left was which car do we take, whose car do we take. We even considered taking a car,
Right.
but we knew it would be more fun if we were together
Yeah,
in one
yeah.
car.
And well, the '59 is sort of the iconic Cadillac that
certainly
everybody
is.
remembers.
Yep.
You know, it's funny because we're all about the same age. And when I was a kid, we used to buy '59 Cadillacs for $600, $800.
Used car.
And I remember years ago, I was talking to a friend of mine. He said, well, I'm going up to Pebble Beach. I'm going to bid on this '59 Cadillac. I said, how much do they want for it? He said 75. He goes, 7,500? That's crazy. He goes, no, 75,000. And it was just, you know, it just hadn't occurred. That's right. They've just gone crazy, you know, because we used to go to the drive-in. I remember friends of mine that liked Demolition Derby, which was popular in New England. You'd buy them for $300-400, and they were so strong you could just crash them all day long. And we thought, well, it's not like they're classic cars, they're fairly new cars. But of course now, I kick myself of all the cars that got destroyed. Where can people get this book?
We have a website. It's www.route66guys.com.
Okay.
They can get it at Autobooks, Aerobooks in Burbank for
Sure.
the people who are local here in California.
I enjoyed it. It's a good read, and it kind of took me back a little bit. So, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank
Nice
you
job.
very much, Jay.
Thank you, Jay.
See you guys later.